Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of the Institute finale. Before I jump into my review, please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Instagram. It helps in so many ways. I could really use the followers there. I do movie reviews there, and I post fun memes and clips. You want to check it out? And after this review, make sure to check out my brand new interview with Finn Laird and Simone Miller, aka Nikki and Kalisha from the Institute. We talk all about this finale and the whole season, so it's a really fun time and I hope you like. The link will be in the comments below. Now, jumping into this big finale, we're finally here, and you see what was predicted last week. We all knew was coming, that Avery is brought in now to conduct, and he's told to drive a car off the road. See, Dr. Hendricks can tell that Avery is bringing in more power than they've ever seen before, and that's why they wanted to use him as soon as possible before he gets too powerful. But Luke is able to connect with Avery somewhat from afar and coach him. So what does Avery do? He has everyone connect and form a circle. And they're actually using the sparklers to their advantage, where Luke's having him focus on that to stay away from focusing on what he's conducting. And you see with their power, even the kids in the recovery room are starting to wake up. And that confirms that Iris is still alive, which is great to see. And not only that, they're connecting to the kids in the other institutes. So then we get the best moment of, to me, the season, where Tony takes out his taser and they're able to stop him from moving forward with it. And they force Tony to put the taser in his mouth. That was so satisfying. He needed a brutal death. He was the most hateable character, and he got it. So I'm happy they delivered on that. And I love the humor here where, while all this is going on, George is just in the front half snacking out. Crazy that he's just by himself there. It's so funny. And then when we get to the real horror here, and it really feels like a Stephen King show, is when they go into the recovery room and the guards' arms are snapped off. Just crazy visual. I really like that. And Luke tells Avery that the kids in the recovery room are the battery and to use their power. But what does Stackhouse do in response to all of this? He has all the kids locked in the tunnel. And then since Tony's dead, we have this evil security guard fill in as the evil person who's just excited to make chlorine gas to kill a bunch of kids. So that is the Stackhouse contingency plan. But with our group, with Tim, Wendy, Luke, and Sigsbee, we see that Sigsbee and Tim are still debating about, is it worth sacrificing kids to save the world? This is a big theme of the show, which I feel like is really going to be explored if there is a season 2. And it makes for an interesting villain in Sigsbee and her beliefs. But also, they want to take Luke to the FBI, but Luke wants to get closer to the Institute so he can connect with Avery. He needs to get closer. He's not powerful enough to keep this connection from so far away. And he wants to get the kids out. I like this moment here that Tim believes in Luke, where Wendy says, you can't make it the kid's call. He's just a kid. But Tim says, why not? It's the grown-ups that effed it all up. Really good line there. I like that. And explaining his trust in Luke so much. Now, when Stackhouse calls Sigsbee's phone, he then gets to talk to Tim and Luke, and he's trying to lure Luke in because he is precog. And he says that those kids are treated like kings, which I thought was really interesting because we haven't seen them yet. And Sigsbee had mentioned they're out there. He says if he trades himself in, he'll give him the kids. But they all know this is a trap because it's coming from Stackhouse. You can never trust this guy. I also love that Stackhouse is just taking over Sigsbee's office the minute she leaves. I thought that was just so in character. Now we get this showdown on the bridge with Stackhouse and Tim. And Frank Lapidus is watching all of it, smoking a cigar because we know Stackhouse just called him. And then you can obviously put the pieces together that he definitely threw Sigsbee under the bus to Frank Lapidus. But in this moment with the bridge, Wendy posed as Luke, fooled Stackhouse. And this is where Hendricks tells Sigsbee they did call upstairs. And she's like, how can you be so stupid? Stackhouse is going to kill you. And Hendricks is like, no, he needs me. The program needs me. But what's interesting is this is the last we see of Hendricks in the whole episode of the whole season. So he is alive. He seems like he leaves the area. So he'll be definitely a piece in season 2. And I'm happy we'll see more of that actor from. He's very enjoyable. But you see Sigsbee, on the other hand, makes a phone call. Is like, I think I have to go away for a while. So she knows that the upstairs is going to come after her now because obviously Stackhouse ratted on her. Meanwhile, Luke is able to sneak into the back half and he's able to connect to Avery. And he is able to bring up this big phone again. But it's basically Avery acting as a big phone, connecting to all the other Institute's kids. And it's really cool to see Luke and Avery connect together to break down these walls and then eventually open the door. And this is where Stackhouse, at this moment, orders the gas to be dropped. But the big sad moment here is Avery has to stay to keep the connection open. He doesn't leave with Kalisha, Nikki, and Luke. He says they can't leave, talking about the kids behind him. He wants to see it through. He says, thanks for being my friends. I loved having friends. teary moment. Poor Avery with this heroic sacrifice. And I'm sure those kids behind him from the recovery room were still so zombified that they actually couldn't get out of their control to leave. And you see it a moment later that Kalisha will reflect, saying that Avery would have been fried out anyway from all the power he already used. So he did what he thought was right, explaining why he wouldn't run away with them anyway, because he probably would have died no matter what. So why not use it for a heroic way? And I love that Kalisha, Nikki, and Luke, while they're escaping, they do grab George, and he just by himself in the front half with all these snacks in front of him. It was just great. He's probably so confused. And now Stackhouse falls through the floor, and we see him there. But is he dead? I feel like they could still pull some trick later in a season 2 where he comes back alive. I don't think that character is done. I think there's more with him. I actually do want to see more of him too. I thought he was a great villain. And we'll see this big moment where the other Institute kids, Avery and Luke, they all connect, toppling the Institute. Now, Frank Lapidus, the man from upstairs, sees this on camera, and he calls for a burn team and a full clean. So he's upset about this, obviously, but it's not the big deal you'd think it was. It's just showing you how big this upstairs and the people above have of an operation, right? That this seems like just something that's like, all right, but not a deal breaker. And you see he plays with his own kids outside, if they're his own kids, who knows? But this is all stuff setting up a season 2, and I want to know more about the upstairs and the people out there. So I'm excited. I hope we get a season 2 to see all this. And speaking of, we see the group joins together now with Tim, Wendy, and George, Kalisha, Luke, and Nikki, and they're set up together for season 2. The good guys here, obviously. And the last setup for a season 2 is Sigsbee hitchhiking, and she has the flash drive the sheriff had, so she must have grabbed it on the way out. So she has that information that would be the big leak for what was going on at that institute. So her getting that is huge, and not the good guys getting it, because that would be obviously something they can lock all this operation down with, but she has it. So it's exciting to see that. We'll see more Sigsbee if there's a season 2, which I'm excited about as well, because she's also a great villain, and who doesn't love to watch Mary-Louise Parker? Now, I do want to mention what I mentioned earlier had been spoiled about for me online. They don't really actually say it in the show, but you see it on the posters where it's time to shine, that these kids have the power from the shining, of shining, like little Danny. So pretty cool that is here, but it's not actually said, but it's there. It's in the posters, Time to Shine, and it's part of that universe of Stephen King, and we know he has a big universe of all things connected. And they didn't obsess over that, which was cool. They kind of still made it its own thing, this show, so I'm happy they went that route. It's exciting nonetheless. I actually really dug this finale. It was my favorite of the season. I think it was very satisfying. It got out quick. It was quickly paced. You got a lot of payoffs here and some memorable moments, especially with Tony, and a nice setup for a season 2, I believe. So it'd be cool to see them explore what happens after, I guess, what happens in the book, because I'm assuming they did most of what's covered in the book. I know in my interview they mentioned that the kids end up in a farmhouse, so we'll see if they start there, if they get a season 2, but I hope they get it. I think they will. I don't think MGM Plus, besides From, has other shows that would draw such a big audience like this, so I think they'll definitely get a renewal. So I would be interested to see this story more explored. So let me know your thoughts down below, your theories what a season 2 can entail, what you liked about the finale, what you liked about the season, what you didn't like. I'd love to hear all of it. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Check out my interview with Finn Laird and Simone Miller, talking about the show and everything that happened. It's a really exciting time. Will be linked below, and please follow me on Instagram at Steve Varley Show, and subscribe here. I do other reviews of shows. I'm going to be doing The Paper, which is the Office spinoff, and I'm also going to be doing the show Task on HBO coming up, so make sure to stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.